Now, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, there are suggestions that workers are going to begin transitioning away from the €350 pandemic unemployment payment. The idea is that after June it will go down 50 quid to about 300, then after July 250 and so on, so that by the autumn most people will be back to the standard social welfare rate of €203. This part of Michael McGrath, the Minister for Public Expenditure's drive to reduced pandemic related spending. Well, Bríd Smith is a People Before Profit TD for Dublin South Central and joins me now. Bríd, you're welcome to the programme. What do you make of this suggestion?
Thanks, and good afternoon to you. I don't think we should support it, and I think we should be very vocal in opposing it, because you see, there's kind of a tone to what Michael McGrath says, that the people are better off not working, and so if they're not working and they're still on the PUP, we'll cut them back down to 204 eventually. But I think, if anything, that illustrates the problem with low pay in this country traditionally, more than anything else. And COVID, like many things, shone a light on low pay and poverty in this country. In fact, there's now new studies that show that the virus wasn't just about health, it was also about inequality. And there was an inequality virus throughout, because the lower paid were hit the worst. And at the same time, there are sectors in our economy and globally that have made massive amount of profits during the pandemic, including pharmaceuticals, high tech, the banks. There's been a huge amount of profit raised and a lot of savings in certain households. So I think to cut the PUP would be criminal.
Yeah.
And I don't think we should.
So on poverty and inequality, I don't think anyone would disagree, certainly, that the lower paid workers have been badly hit. And we know, look, the people who are
worse
better off. And
not badly hit, but worse.
Yeah, worse hit. Sorry, you're right. Worse hit is what I meant to say. And listen, an awful lot of people have been able to make savings, and a lot of the spending splurge people are expecting is going to come from higher income people. But Ireland ranks pretty well in terms of poverty and inequality on a European scale, doesn't it?
So what's the point then, that we shouldn't?
Well, it's just, you talk about like that we're an unequal country and it's getting worse. I mean, it got temporarily bad during the pandemic, did it not?
The point I make about the inequality of the virus was a general point across many sectors. Okay. And in fact, I think a lot of the research comes from Britain. And the point they make is that the inequality that's highlighted through the virus and the way the lower paid are the worst hit. And then the very top of society, the ones that make the biggest profits, like pharmaceuticals and the high-tech companies. Already the IMF are calling for a COVID solidarity tax. Now, that's something we called for months ago, but to hear the IMF arguing for it, and that being echoed by ministers in our own government, that's brilliant. There should be a COVID solidarity tax on those who enhance their profits out of the virus, and that should be used to keep people in a pandemic unemployment payment until they can return to work. Because this idea that people who worked in the hospitality sector, in arts, in music, in many shops that won't reopen for a long time, are somehow lazy and it's their own fault that they're unemployed has to be scotched, and we have to give them the support.
Yeah, well, now, I don't think Michael McGrath said that now.
No, he didn't. No, but he did say that some of the better, some people are saying that they're better off not working. But we know from the last time around when we had this debate in the Dáil, there's a tiny minority who are better off not working. Most people, in fact, at this stage would probably give their right eye to go back to work. They're so bored and alienated by being stuck out of it.
It's hard to imagine that they're going to unwind this to any great degree while there's still certain sectors closed. I mean, just even politically, I think Michael McGrath and everyone would accept that, say, for instance, if wet pubs continue to be closed, that they're going to be able to tell people, right, we're essentially banning your livelihood, but we're also going to reduce your support payments. This is with the view of everything being reopened in society. And once everything is reopened, Bríd, is there not an argument that we go back to what was the status quo in terms of social welfare?
Not in the middle of an unemployment crisis. I think that would be tragic, because the unemployment is a direct result of the COVID crisis, and the recent figures that were shown of youth unemployment in particular being at 56%. And
well, that included students.
Yes, indeed. But among young women, at 62%. And traditionally...
Yeah, but I think sorry, that figure was getting quoted a lot last week, about 60% of youth unemployment. I mean, it's about 22% in reality.
Well, I don't accept that because traditionally students work. That's how they afford to be students because it is expensive to go to college or to do a course in this country. You have to pay the registration fees and you have to pay for your own books and maintenance. So students are workers as well, and that's by necessity. I'm sure most students
They're
would
not
probably
full-time workers, and
recommend it.
very few of them are going to be making 350 quid a week.
No, indeed. And there's an awful lot of part time workers in this country anyway. But if you start cutting back the rate at which they can afford to live without actually providing the jobs, then you are penalising those who have
But
lost
is
most
the,
from
is
the
the point
pandemic.
again not that this will start as those jobs begin to reappear?
Well, it does say workers beginning to transition back from the pandemic unemployment payment to normal job seekers rate. So it doesn't really spell it out. And obviously, if jobs begin to reappear in hospitality, if jobs begin to reappear in arts and music, it's going to take some time for all that to resume. And so talking at this stage
Yeah.
about cutting back the PUP is inappropriate and will meet huge opposition.
Yeah.